Hey friends, welcome back to the Weighing For podcast. For today's episode, Chris and I are going to talk about how you can get started on your weight loss journey using weight loss medication. So let's get started.
So how do you even get started on a weight loss journey? What I did was I went to my primary care physician. I didn't know what my options were. And so we talked about it. And he gave me a few options. I thought he was going to put me with a nutritionist. He didn't. I thought he was going to tell me to get a workout trainer. He didn't. Eventually, we just came up with the conclusion that medication was the right option for me. How did that work for you, Sam?
So my experience was a little bit different. My doctor was always a little bit hesitant when it came to talking about like Ozempic or an injectable medication that could be used for weight loss. And so when I found out about Mounjaro, which is the medication that both you and I use, I actually found it through TikTok, and I actually found the telehealth provider that I use through TikTok as well in the same exact video. So I went on there, and first time using telehealth, I've never used telehealth in my entire life. And when I went on there, I was able to fill out a questionnaire, seeing if I qualified to use the services. And after that, I was able to get approved. I set up a consultation with my nurse practitioner that is through Sequence. And after that, I was prescribed the medication. I will tell you, it was the easiest appointment that I've ever had. Because normally, and I don't know, Chris, if you can like relate to this at all, but I feel like when it comes to like advocating yourself, like you really have to fight with a doctor to be like, hey, this is why I need to be on this medication. And most of the time those conversations were like, well, like everything's normal, you're fine, just eat less and move more. And so this doctor's appointment was very different. And she was like, let's get you started. Like you would be an excellent candidate for this, let's go ahead and get you on your plan, etc. And so if your doctor is not willing to prescribe weight loss medication for whatever their reasons are, and if you feel like this truly can have an impact on my life that is for the better, then there's other options for you to do. So again, I personally use Sequence. I am a partner with them now just because they are fantastic and I love to advocate for them. Because I think, to Chris's experience, his doctor was like, hey, let's get you started. And that is phenomenal. But I think there's a lot of people out there that they don't have that same exact experience with their medical provider. So just know that there are other options out there, like telehealth service. And the one that I use is personally Sequence. So I use them to get started, and I've been with them since July, and they're fan-freaking-tastic.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of great things about them from you and from an awful lot of other people. But, really the other option was surgery. So,
Yes.
I would much rather start with the medication process and see, where that went. So it wasn't, I made it sound real easy there, but it was, a long process to get. My doctor was not, a medication weight loss doctor. It's just not who he was. And so it's just, it takes some time to advocate for your health, I think. I mean, and I know you agree with that, Samantha, because it's,
Right.
You have to kind of work them through that. This hasn't been really an option for years to be able to do this. It's new, and it was just something that I was kind of surprised was even available to me,
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm glad that you said that regarding surgery, because legit, this was my last resort before getting surgery. And my health insurance does not cover weight loss surgery. So I would be either paying it out of pocket or figuring out how to come up with the money itself. And so when I found Mounjaro, I was like, if this doesn't work, I don't know what's going to work. And so I am going to have to do the surgery. But the only reason why I haven't done surgery yet is because of my binge eating disorder. And I feel like even if I were to cut my stomach 80% out of me, I would still be battling with that mental aspect. Yeah. And I mean, with Mounjaro specifically, because again, sharing our own experiences, it's been life-changing. And I think for so many people who are looking for surgery, I mean, we know people, Chris, that we're thinking about getting surgery, and now they're they're not. Like, they're like, let me just see how this continues on, etc. And so I think that this is just an awesome tool. And I say tool because it's not like a magic formula potion or anything like that. It's a tool that we can utilize to really get healthy and lose that weight. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that, you've got, like, for example, Mounjaro that's one we have the most experience with, right? Because we're both on that particular drug. A lot of them work similarly, but this is just the latest one that's got the two GLP and GIP, was it GLP-1 and GIP receptor agonists, if I'm saying that correctly. It's a mouthful. But to have those two receptor agonists has really been kind of a game changer. And I didn't know anything about any of this stuff. None of this made sense to me when I first heard this. But it was a game changer, because this was my last option before surgery. Also because, as I've said before, my medical situation, I had to do something quick. So I was lucky that this was actually only a couple of weeks old from approval from the FDA. And you and I guess found it almost exactly the same time, and that's kind of how we met. So it's a game changer, and to me it's a life changer, and I'm sure it has been for you as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And so, Chris, because I know we talked about this before, because you said that you were kind of one of the first patients that your doctor prescribed Mounjaro to, right? Yeah. And since then, you said that he's also prescribed it to other patients as well. You're kind of like that first, you kind of changed his perspective of weight loss medication, right? Mm-hmm. So tell us more about that.
Well, he's put 15 people on this since I've been on it. And I think that was kind of a little bit of a test subject, because what did I have to lose at that point? I was close to severe injury from my eating disorder. So what do? I was like, it almost felt like, why not at that point? And so he tried it with me. It wound up with 15 other people. 2 people came off of it because of side effects they couldn't deal with, which particularly were nausea. What's interesting is that they're back on it. I don't know if I've told you that before.
Oh, no.
He put them back on because everyone else was having so much success. They wanted to try it again. And so they're just at a lower dosage, and they're doing great. So even with the side effects, that can kind of feel a little severe in the beginning, because you don't know what is happening to your body. I mean, did you experience this at all? I mean, I can see you're nodding your head that when you first start this drug, I mean, side effects are side effects. They're not all necessarily bad, but they don't feel normal to you in the beginning. And so a lot of people would, maybe panic just a little bit. I think that's what these 2 people did. But 15 people, and they're all on it now and having success. And that's amazing to me.
Oh, for sure. I wish there was a way that he could tell you how much, as a collective, how much you all have lost.
I might ask him if he could do that, because I wonder if that would be in violation of anything in particular.
No, I know. No, 100%. 100%. But it would be interesting to see how much have we all lost as a group? Do you have that number or to share it? And that is just amazing how you have been that, first, you say test subject, but how you've really you have been able to help 14 other people get started on their journey.
Yeah.
And I am super excited because I have not told my primary care doctor that I have started Mounjaro, and I see her on Halloween. So in 15 days, I'm going to see her. But I'm excited to show her my progress and tell her all about it. So I can't wait to share that moment with you. But
I've been wondering about that, because that is something that has come up before, and I've never asked you about. If your doctor knew that because what happens when your doctor says that they're either not comfortable providing medication for weight loss, what generally happens is you're left with the option of trying to figure out, okay, so now what do I do? And so Sam wound up with Sequence, online telehealth company, and got it prescribed through them. And so now you create this dynamic for how do I tell my primary care physician that I'm doing this? Because you're obviously going to come back and weigh less, and they're going to notice these things, right? Yeah. So, I've been wanting to ask you that, and I keep forgetting to bring that up. And how do you think that's gonna come up? And because they're gonna ask if you don't tell them.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, because they're going to ask me about my medications and everything. And so I do want to share that experience with them of starting the medication. And, I think sometimes I feel like when it comes to weight loss medication, specifically when it's, oh, my doctor won't prescribe it, it's almost like I shouldn't, what's the word I'm looking for? I shouldn't it's kind of bad to ask for somebody else for the weight loss medication because I can't get with that doctor. So trying to, again, shift the perspective of it, if someone had cancer, God forbid, sometimes people encourage them, hey, get a second opinion.
Good point. Yeah.
And so I feel like, why is that different than weight loss medication? Because again, I mean, we all know being obese, we have an increased risk of 13 different cancers just from weighing more. And so that's something also that I've thought about the past couple of days too, because I feel like some people are ashamed of, well, my doctor will prescribe it, so that's it. I can't do anything else. It's like, no, there are other options. Like, get a second opinion. Just because your primary care doctor doesn't want to prescribe it to you, there's other doctors that are educated in obesity medicine that they want to help you as much as they can.
Yeah.
And so I think if that conversation came up, I just going to tell her, I just want to get a second opinion. And I found a second opinion, and I found something that is working for me. And so, yeah, I'm excited.
That, right? You just got to respect the fact that you took charge of your health like that. So, because I think that's probably, from what I can tell from my doctor, that's got to be a frustration of a lot of doctors, is that people don't take enough responsibility for their own health. And you did. And so she's got to respect that, right? That, okay, so you took charge of your health and you lost the weight. Clearly it's working. You're showing back up, and then now, I think what you'll find is what I found with my doctor is that you go back in and they're like, okay, then. And their whole tune changes about you, because I used to dread going to the doctor because he would it was like checking in with your dad or something.
Yes.
It's like you just felt like you were always doing something wrong and you could never do anything right. I'm describing all kinds of weird dynamics. And so you wind up in a situation where it's just, they always seem like they're angry with you because you're not doing enough. And then all of a sudden you are. And so my doctor actually acted like he was going to pull me in for a hug at one point.
Aww.
And I was like, that's new. Because you're like, it's like all of a sudden I got dad's approval or something. It's like it's just a really neat feeling. And I've left the last 3 visits to my doctor feeling really good. I haven't felt good when I've left the doctor in years, 20 years maybe, because I never felt like I was doing enough, and it was for my own health. So you took charge of your health and you actually went out there and did it, when it just wasn't working with the regular doctor. She has to respect that. And it'll probably excite her to do more for you now, I would think.
Yeah, I'm hoping, I really want to ask her, like, has she heard of the medication? I want to ask her if she has anyone else on it. I mean, again, I don't know with HIPAA, all that kind of stuff, if they can or cannot, but like, if not, maybe just kind of shine a light on it, and kind of like what you did with your doctor. Hopefully she can start to help other people who need the help and all that. So
changed her mind. Now, she knows it works. Maybe now she'll prescribe it for her patients.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not a bad thing, is that, there's a little proof in the pudding there, is that, you came back and you got advice from another doctor and you lost the weight, or you losing the weight, in a really good, healthy form, and your numbers are bound to come back really, really good. And, I don't know a lot about your medical history, but it's like, with me, it's the cholesterol's coming down, the blood work is all looking really good. And, those are really good things. And that should make a doctor feel good too, because you're their patient.
Right. Yeah, I agree 100%. So yeah.
Liking and subscribing to our content really helps us get the message out to people who truly need it.
And I also want to talk about real quick, how do you have that conversation with your healthcare provider? It's a common question that I get asked a lot. I don't know about you, Chris. I think you probably get asked this as well of, what does that conversation look like? And so first and foremost, I would do your research on whatever medication you are wanting to obtain, whether that's Mounjaro, Ozempic, Wegovy, whatever it is. Do your research and really figure out how you can benefit from that medication. And so when you do have that conversation with your doctor, you can go in and say, hey, I found out about this medication. This is the research that I've done on it. These are the reasons why I think I could benefit from this medication. And I just really want to know what your thoughts are. Do you think that you would be, or do you think that I would be a good candidate for it? And then that way the ball is now in that provider's court and they can say either yes, either no, whatever it is. And then if you needed to, you can get that second opinion. But I did want to touch on that just because I know a lot of people, we have a lot of anxiety kind of going in. Chris, just like you said, it's kind of like the first time in 20 years to where you actually feel confident walking into a doctor's office. For a lot of people, I think it's that just scarcity of, or the not scarcity mindset, that's not what I want to say. The fear of, am I going to be judged or am I going to be turned down again time after time after time? And so I think really kind of going in with a game plan and showing that, hey, you know what you're talking about and trying to advocate for yourself even more can hopefully get you like one step closer to, starting your journey. So I just
Absolutely.
wanted to.
Yeah, I think that it's important to say also that don't be surprised if your doctor has never heard of these. You might mention something to them that it hasn't crossed them yet. Primary care physicians especially, I always say this word wrong. Is it endocrinologist?
Endocrinologist.
Endocrinologist. I always get that one wrong.
Endocrinologist, yes.
They sometimes have never heard of this either. I mean, doctors have their specialties and they have their likes and dislikes of different, aspects of medicine. So don't be surprised if they've never heard of a medication, bottom line. And you might be teaching a doctor something or prompting them at least to go in and really look at it. It might take them a day or two to kind of go in and research it for themselves. And they might call you and say, yeah, this might be a good fit for you. But I think that most good doctors would really like that, to be prompted about something like that. They find this extremely interesting. I mean, just like we do for our professions. So they, if you're talking about these things to them, you're advocating for your health, I would think that would perk a doctor up. A good doctor would really be like, what, how do you know these things? And it's like, that means that you're interested in your health. And, and that would excite me if I were a doctor, and this is my profession, and this is my line of work that I've spent my life studying. I would be excited that the person I'm dealing with actually has an interest in their own health again, because they might think that you didn't, even if you did.
For sure.
All right, so once again, we'll ask you, what are you waiting for? Enter your questions into the comment section below. Let us know how you're doing, anything you'd like to tell us. All the resources are below as well. So if you wanted to join Sequence, if you wanted telehealth, all that information is down there. And what else do we have for them, Sam?
Yeah, so in the description of this podcast as well, you're going to find our email address. So if you wanted to email Chris and I, please do so as well.
Very good. All right, so we'll see you next time. And thank you again for joining us for Waiting For It.
Bye, everyone.